It's the Age Has No Limit podcast. We're here to show and prove that your age shouldn't prevent you from designing and living the life you want. I'm your host, Patrice Davis. Let's get started. Welcome to the Age Has No Limit podcast. So with me today is Christine Van Bloem. Christine is a heart attack survivor who used a health scare to help others. She is the founder of the Empty Nest Kitchen, and I just love that idea. It's brilliant. And she teaches empty nesters through live online cooking classes to relearn how to cook for one or two. For those of you who are empty nesters, you know that's a thing. Christine has taught thousands of home chefs, and she focuses on making cooking fun. When I speak to Christine, you'll see why, and I'm sure that's very easy for her. She also teaches them to have fun in the kitchen and promotes what she calls a healthy-ish vibe in her classes. The Empty Nest Kitchen features live classes, private events, and corporate team building. As a result of the heart attack, Christine transformed her cooking style, moving away from butter and heavy cream to healthier options while maintaining flavor and delight. And I'm curious to find out how she has done that. Her philosophy is that there's always room for dessert, even when cooking healthfully. And I completely agree with Christine on that point. There's always room for dessert. Christine is also the host of the Empty Nest Kitchen podcast. She lives in Maryland with her husband, John. And what I like is that Christine says that she embodies a no-limit life by independently teaching cooking classes online, making cooking enjoyable and accessible for empty nesters everywhere. So welcome to the show, Christine.
Hi, Patrice. Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. So as I said, Empty Nest Kitchen is a brilliant idea. It's a brilliant, company name. And I just love that. And one of the first things I want to tackle or ask is what made you decide to do the Empty Nest Kitchen? What was the spark for this idea?
Well, my kids left. And it's funny how they do that, right? But the kids left, and I realized how much everything had changed. And if it was changing for me, I knew it was changing for everybody who is entering that stage. And I just thought relearning, I was cooking these massive meals, and I only have 2 kids, but I was cooking these massive meals and it was too much food. And we would eat some of the leftovers, but not all of them. And I was throwing things away. And I just thought there's got to be a way not only to save time, but to be a little more fiscally responsive to the whole thing. And that's how it was all born.
Yeah. And so interesting you say that. When you become an empty nester, it really just changes your perspective on a lot of things. I actually have an episode for those of you who are interested called The Empty Nest and the Full Life, because I really believe we can have both an empty nest and a full life. Yeah, you like that? Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you. So, Christine, I really am excited to learn more about you. I can just tell by your energy, you love to have fun. That's my vibe as well. But I do want to talk about something a little serious. So you had a heart attack. Did you know that was happening when it was happening?
Oh, I totally didn't. I was September 2020, right? Nobody was super relaxed back then.
Yes.
And I had broken my ankle playing pickleball in July. And boy, that really hurt.
Yeah.
And then my husband had a stroke in the middle of August.
Yeah.
I lost the lease for my cooking school, which I'd had for 15 years.
Wow.
And then a few weeks later is when I had the heart attack. So I was busy handling all of these other things. And I have a home blood pressure cuff because as one does when you're over 50.
Yes.
And
exactly.
I thought it was broken because I would check since my husband had his stroke.
Yeah.
I was checking his and I thought, well, I'll check mine. And I thought it was broken because it was reading so high. I've always been like a super good blood pressure girl, right?
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
issues there.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I remember I had to go to PT for my ankle. I said, I haven't been feeling great. Would you just check my blood pressure?
Wow.
And the physical therapist said, we can't do physical therapy on you. It's too high
Mm.
right now. And then the next day, I had the heart attack.
Wow. Wow. So I'm just thinking about that. So in the middle of everything that was happening in 2020, your
Yeah.
husband has a stroke, you break your ankle, which again, that's a physical pain in addition to all the worry. And of course, your business after 15 years, that is quite a lot. So the thing that I think everyone should be aware of, according to the NIH, it's the National Institutes of Health, apparently 3.2 million women have what are called myocardial infarctions. I think that's the proper way of saying that, which is really the medical term for heart attacks. And over 213,000 women die each year from that. What made you decide to use your experience to change lives through healthier cooking?
Well, heart disease is the number one killer of women here in the United States.
Mhm.
And I'm an open book. I will answer any question anyone asks me. I don't see the joy in gatekeeping, right?
Mhm.
I love to help folks. I love to share. And
Mhm.
when I had my heart attack,
Mhm.
several women reached out to me
Mhm.
privately. Some I knew really well, some I didn't know very well.
Yeah.
And each of them had, I'm having this issue. Well, listen, I don't have an ounce of medical knowledge. Forget
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But I could say to them, that sounds like you need to contact your doctor. You should do that. Do that now. I back you up. You're fantastic.
Mhm.
And all three of them had high blood pressure.
Yeah.
All three of them went on medication. Other women have since reached out. And my answer is always listen, if you think there's something, if
Mhm.
you have a feeling about something, call your doctor. Call your
Absolutely.
doctor.
Mhm.
Go to your local drugstore and put your arm in that cuff that they
Yeah.
have right there. You
Yeah.
can do that.
Yeah.
So that's what made me really want to dive into this a little bit more.
Yeah. And now you're doing healthier cooking. What kind of cooking did you do before? Was it, how would you describe it? Was it, and just learn a little bit more about the business that you had for 15 years. What was it like in terms of the cooking then and, the cooking that you actually show people how to do now?
Yeah. So I'm trained in classic French technique.
Hmm.
And I learned that in New York City. Thank you very much. The two things don't
New
make
York
sense.
City.
New York City.
I know.
And,
Mhm.
and I love the butter. I love the cream. That was what we used all the time when I was in school. We had special cream that was a higher butter fat than regular heavy cream.
Wow.
It was
Wow.
glorious. It was
Yeah.
so good. And I will tell you now I was in my 20s, so I was a bebe.
Yeah.
But when I was in culinary school, I lost all sorts of weight,
Yeah.
all sorts of weight. I mean, French paradox, amen.
Yes.
But,
Exactly.
but
Exactly.
that is how I went. And I've always been kind of shameless about how I cook because I'm an excellent cook, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's really easy to make things taste good
Mm-hmm.
if you're using butter and cream and all these luxurious ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more challenging to take something, and I'm not going nutty here. That's why I
Yeah.
say healthy-ish.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
because if you go from eating, let's say, the regular way that
Yeah.
people eat nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
and you try to go to all spinach, kale, and carrots,
Yeah.
you're going to last 18 minutes, if
Yeah.
that. We
Yeah.
all know it. So
Yeah.
it's about making the changes, the small changes
Mm-hmm.
that help you realize a little healthier lifestyle without hitting you over the head with it.
Yeah, that's a great point. So let's talk about what you've done to help yourself and help others through the Empty Nest Kitchen. As I said before, it's a brilliant idea and so needed. Again, speaking as an empty nester myself, who had to learn to cook for one again. It was a lot of waste initially, and I'm sure you hear that from some of your clients, that, when you have to transition from cooking for a family of 4 or 5 or whatever, whatever size that family was, to now one, or for you and your partner, which is two, it's a big transition. So would love to learn, what made you decide, yes, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start a business called Empty Nest Kitchen.
It was such a no-brainer for me.
Mm-hmm.
I love teaching. I just love it. It is my special sauce.
Mm-hmm.
And I started working with AARP. I started working with the Maryland office. Shout out to the Maryland office. They are so fantastic.
Yes.
And they had said, would you do some classes for us? And I was like, absolutely, that'd be great. And I remember back when I had the school, we did like a big in-person class. That was fun. But then they said, as the pandemic hit, they said, we really want to reach out to people. And then they said, could we make it a little healthier? And I said, absolutely. And that was the impetus there, because we're trying to, I want to live a really long, healthy life. And I've had some hiccups, thanks, Mom and Dad, but I've had some hiccups, and I'm not going to let that stop me here. And they were so great. So one of the things I do every month, and I did this, I've done it for several years now, I teach a free class for AARP across the country.
Oh, wow.
So anyone across the country can join in. It's at 11 a.m. Eastern time, the first Saturday of every month.
Wow.
And we get, I kid you not, hundreds and hundreds of people in the classes from all over the country. U.S. Virgin Islands, Alaska, Hawaii, big hit in Idaho. Who knew? So it's really, really fun to do it that way, because I'm trying to help not seniors necessarily, but our Gen Xers among us. I want everyone to experience joy in their kitchen. That's a big part of what I do, because if it's a trudge, who's going to do it? Right? Yeah. So I teach classes from my own kitchen. I have the setup with the iPad and the microphone and, the whole thing. And it's just letting people use the tools they have in their own kitchen, work with me. And then I keep my classes, other than the AARP classes, I keep them small so that you can get the attention that you want and that you need. And when you're having more fun, it's easier to try new things and maybe experiment more with the whole grains, experiment more with the air fryer, and try new things.
Yeah. That's interesting that you started with the Maryland, I guess the local chapter of the AARP. So I actually used to live in Maryland for many years.
Oh, where were you?
Yes, I was in Baltimore. Initially I was in Prince George's County. Then I moved to Baltimore, but I've lived in Montgomery County. I've lived in different parts of Maryland. I love Maryland.
I love Maryland.
And this is so interesting. This is kind of odd, but I actually, have family members who, interact with several Maryland state offices on a regular basis. And they're known actually in the state of Maryland is for really being great. And we're not going to go off topic in terms of some of the services they offer through the state. So I'm not surprised that they had the forethought that, hey, this may be a great way for us to engage seniors, in something that's a fun activity, tap into your expertise. So I'm not surprised that this is something that they came up with. Now, I also am really, really intrigued by the fact that you offer both live classes, private sessions, and corporate, group events. So what made you decide to branch out and offer those services as well?
Well, I offered corporate team building when I
Mhm.
had my cooking school. And
Mhm.
we had a lot of biotech groups where we
Yeah.
are, has a bunch
Mhm.
of different biotech companies. And
Mhm.
they would come up and then, Patrice, the
Yeah.
pandemic has changed everything,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Everything. There are a
Mhm.
lot more remote workers.
Mhm.
And I thought, if I can do these classes this way, can't we make it work as a corporate team building as well? And especially when you have a group that's remote,
Mhm.
folks aren't coming into an office every day together. It's a
Yeah.
fantastic way to get them to do something fun. I mean, I had a group, I think they're based out in Colorado. They had folks from Canada and the States,
Mhm.
and we did an apron contest. We did a kitchen scavenger hunt. They made food. I mean, it was fantastic. And they gave me, oh gosh, they wanted the ingredients to cost less than $25, and
Mhm.
they wanted them to, I forget how many ingredients each one could have, not many. And it was a challenge for me, and
Yeah.
it was a challenge for them, and they all
Mhm.
had fun. And it's like, well, if you have an allergy, you don't have to worry about it. You're going to work within that allergy. If
Mhm.
you hate mushrooms, you're going to skip the mushrooms,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you think raisins are the devil's work, then
I do. I do.
you're gonna skip the raisins. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
flexibility with it, and it's
Mhm.
still a way to have fun. And I keep it all within 90 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And it's a great way to end the day.
Mhm.
It's so much more fun than you think it would be. And I have done these for groups that have had people from Singapore and Germany in
Yeah.
the group. I mean, bless the heart of that person in Singapore. I don't even know what time
I know
they
it
were taking the
was.
class. I
Yeah.
think they were 2 days ahead. I mean, I don't even know. But there's so much flexibility there now.
Mhm.
It's COVID was awful, and I hate everything about it, but it
Yeah.
did open our eyes to so many different possibilities.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I'm actually in the middle of planning our first staff retreat with our team members, and I'm already thinking maybe this could be our end of retreat, activity that we do together. It's going to be in person for us, but maybe you can host us, virtually. But yeah, I'm gonna ask our team members to reach out to you. I'm very, very serious because I'm trying to
I
think of
love it.
something to like kind of end the event,
Yep.
with a bang. So let's talk a little bit about what it was like becoming an empty nester. Some people have a really difficult time. Others, of course, they love their kids, but they're like, bye bye. And they're ready to just take off and do things, just kind of rediscover who they are. What was your empty nest experience like?
I was number two.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was number two.
Yeah.
Well, I say that and it makes me feel like, oh, and that's so not true
Yeah.
because, my son went first and then my daughter.
Mhm.
And gosh, I just love them so, so much. But
Mhm.
when my daughter went, I actually took a second job
Mm.
teaching culinary full time at the
Mhm.
local high school. And it sucked every ounce of time that I had, every second. It
Mhm.
was devoted to that. And not only did it help us pay for
Mhm.
two kids in college at the same time, but it kept me so busy
Mhm.
that I didn't have the opportunity to wallow. And
Yeah.
once I got through that first year,
Yeah.
it was easy breezy. And I gotta be honest, my kids, our son was about 3 hours away. Our
Yeah.
daughter was in Towson, which for me is about an hour away. So I didn't have to deal with kids going across the country,
Yeah.
right? They
Yeah.
were they were closer, but I just want to suck the marrow out of life, I just want to do.
Mhm.
And this, I look at the emptiness, it's so freeing,
Yes.
right?
Wow. Yes. So
It's
many
so
ways.
freeing.
In so many ways. And then
Yeah.
as the freedoms unfold, do you find that as the freedoms unfold, in other words, as you become more aware of the different types of freedoms that you now have, as a result of becoming an empty nester, you just find yourself just feeling like just more alive. I don't want to make it seem as if, ta-ta, my kids are gone and I'm happy, but as the freedoms unfold, you're like, oh, I can do this now, or I can take a vacation in September, or I mean, do you know what I mean? Because September
Yeah.
beginning of the school year, everything locks down in September, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So have you had those realizations? I'm sure you have. Even
Oh,
though you're
absolutely.
working at the school, were you still noticing those types of things that you no longer had to kind of buckle down and do because you were now an empty nester?
Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. I mean, it, you miss your kids, of course, but they're so much more interesting,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
then they're kind of in charge of their own destinies now. What
Yeah.
they do, you want to be there to support and love and all of that,
Hmm.
but it's up to them.
Yeah.
What happens now is their call.
Yeah.
And that's taken so much pressure off. I mean, do I still freak out? My son had a bike accident the other day and he is a little beat up. And I'm
Mhm.
just like, oh, my baby,
Yeah.
but he doesn't want that. He doesn't
Yeah.
need that. But, they're smart kids.
Yeah.
We did a good job raising them. I
Yeah.
mean, not great, but we did pretty good,
Yeah.
right? And they're nice people. And truthfully, I just enjoy being around them
Yeah.
when we can be around. And we're a pretty close knit family.
Yeah.
So I feel so lucky.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm kind of reaping what we sowed over
Yeah.
all those years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, one of the things that I found on your website that I just couldn't help but laugh out loud, like I've done a couple times already since I've been talking with you, is when you wrote, "It's a meal, not a mortgage." Tell me what you mean
Yeah.
by that. Yeah.
Well, I think people get so uptight,
Hmm.
right? I think folks get when they're making food, you see, I mean, come on, the options for food now,
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
have an incredible meal every single night by going out, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that people compare themselves
Mm.
to that. And I think they get knotted up because they want it to be like that or they, want to be perfect. And it's like, relax. I used to do the math. I would teach kids camps and kids, especially. Talk
Mhm.
about twisted knickers. My
Yes.
goodness.
Yeah.
And I would do, okay,
Mhm.
everybody's going to live to be 100 and we'll take the
Mhm.
first 2 years out and we'll times it by 365 and we'll times it by 3 meals a day. We won't count college because who
Mhm.
knows what you're eating, but you're going
And
to
then,
eat
yeah.
more. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you're going to eat over 107,000 meals in
Wow.
your life. 107,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Okay, so let's say you hose 1,000 of those.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not even at 1%, right?
That's
So it's
true.
like, try it. And if it
Yeah.
works, fantastic. And if
Yeah.
it doesn't, either skip it and never do it again,
Yes.
or figure out how to make it better.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an excellent point.
It's just food.
It is just food. And I'm glad you said that. And you're right. Part of the reason is we compare ourselves to others that you said maybe comparing them to maybe the meals that we can get, that taste fantastic. They're delivered perfectly because, of course, companies spend thousands of dollars, to make them perfect. All of those things. I tend to compare myself to others who I know that cook really well. And then I also don't see cooking as fun. And I think that could be the
Oh,
difference. I
well,
don't see it as fun. I see it as a chore. It was a chore that I had to do every day after my kids came home. I would cook like a meal with fresh ingredients, and it felt so arduous. Help
yeah,
me.
it was arduous. It
Yes.
was. You
Yes.
were
Yes.
responsible for a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, there was a
Mhm.
night
Mhm.
a month or two ago that I
Yeah.
said, I just want mashed potatoes for dinner.
Yeah.
And I made mashed potatoes, and that's all we had. And
Yeah.
my husband was like, that's fine,
Yeah.
which is so great. I would never have done that
Yeah.
with my kids. I would
Yeah.
never have done that. And
Mhm.
I think that it is arduous, but
Mhm.
you have to look now. I mean, the sheer volume of cool foods that are
Yeah.
out there,
Yeah.
right? Like cool
Mhm.
things we never could have gotten
Yeah.
when we were growing up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think there's so much interesting stuff out there. And I think as long as you're not overcomplicating it, because there
Yeah.
are times to make something fancy,
Yeah.
but that's, easy. I keep a lot of frozen fish,
Mhm.
frozen shrimp that I can thaw like that. I can
Mhm.
have it made in 15 minutes in the air fryer it's still going to be delicious. I can incorporate the whole grains, do that whole thing. So I've tried to make it more simple so that I can find that joy again. And I tell you, Patrice, I know you can find it too.
I think I could. Mediterranean diet is really interesting to me. The
Huge thing.
flavors, just the flavors, the different textures, the different types of grains. So I think I've always been kind of pulled to that diet. I think if I were to be intentional about having a cookbook or, an online recipe and trying a different meal every week, that could probably spark some joy. And I think that's what it is. I just need to find something that's exploratory rather than a chore. For those of you, though, who want to learn about the Empty Nest Kitchen, visit the Empty Nest Kitchen website at www, of course, emptynestkitchen.com. Again, that's emptynestkitchen.com. So I really want to find out a little bit about Christine, the person. So Christine, you had an advertising career in New York City. Do you mind telling us what you did? What was your role?
Oh gosh, I wish I had one of those like sexy ad jobs,
Yeah.
but I did not. I had one of those hacky ad jobs.
Yeah.
I paid talent for all the commercials. So I worked with Hasbro Toys. My agency worked with Hasbro Toys and Sharp Electronics. And my first job was getting the physical commercials to the TV stations.
Oh, wow.
I mean, nowadays everything's
digital. Yeah.
Digital. So completely obsolete job that doesn't exist anymore. And then I did some production budgets, but mostly I paid the talent. The voiceovers and the actors and all of that. And then when I moved to Maryland, I got a job working for a local agency.
So thank you for giving us some background into what you did in advertising. Paying the talent may not be sexy, but it was important. It was important. So tell me your grandest vision for Empty Nest Kitchen. Like what, if an opportunity opened up, what would be the perfect opportunity for you right now?
Gosh, I just love creating the connection with folks. I just love it so much. And I think in my dream world, in my perfect world, I'm just teaching to a lot of people. One of the things that I'm going to be doing in September is I'm launching like menopause friendly meal plans so that people will get a week's worth of dinner recipes that are easy, that fill the needs, got lots of protein, got the carbs you need, all that good stuff. And for me, it's the people. I just love the people. I love teaching every class. When I do those AARP classes, I started off by doing a roll call and everybody types in where they're from and it gets going so fast I can't read it all. And oh my God, I just gave myself goosebumps right now. I love it. And I think for me, it's finding the way to create that connection. Because I do think as empty nesters, that is something not just that a lot of us crave, but that we need. Because you are a different person after your kids go, right? You have poured into your family and you have a lot of times left yourself an empty cup. And it's kind of figuring out who you want to be and being able to aid people as they're figuring that out and as they're embracing who they want to be in these years, right? That to me is like my biggest dream, being able to teach to loads and loads of people. That's what I love to do.
And so what you're doing is you're actually facilitating a social connection for people. So yes, it is, they're cooking classes, and I'm sure they're learning a lot about, of course, making delicious meals and healthier ways to, make those meals. But also, as you're saying, you're getting a lot of energy from people as they are typing in where they're from. And it's just the excitement and the buildup of everything around that, which taps into something very, very basic in us as humans, and that's the need to connect. connect. And so I really, really, as you're describing that, I'm understanding why that's such, that's a part of what you want to continue to accomplish. And I also really love the menopause friendly meals. There's so little out there about menopause itself, but also the fact that you're tackling it from creating menopause friendly meals is a brilliant idea. What made you decide to take that route?
So I'm currently enrolled in a culinary medicine course,
Mm-hmm.
and it does. We're focusing each week on something different health wise.
Mm-hmm.
So we just did the renal diet, and we're doing heart healthy, and we're doing diabetic diets. And every week it's something else, it's something new. And not one single week is menopause addressed.
Yeah.
And listen, I am queen hot flash, baby.
Yeah.
If I'm not sweaty, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
And right, I am just, you know how you just spontaneously combust,
Yes.
right? And you're just like,
Yeah.
so I remember, back in the day when my mom went through it, nobody talked about this.
Yeah.
She would streak through the house in her little flimsy nightgown in the middle of January to go sit outside on the porch swing when there's snow everywhere, right? And we just went, oh, mom. And she never talked about it. She never said anything about it. And I love that this generation of women is not going silently into the night. Half of the world is going to deal with this.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, to heck with it. This is the time to talk about it. And I'm taking every book I can out of the library. And I am coming at this from a chef's perspective, right? That's so important to me because, again, I don't have an ounce of medical knowledge. But I'm coming at it from a chef's perspective and looking at what little I've been able to find about what works. And, everything I found on menopause and the diet is all talking about how to lose weight.
Yeah.
And I'm not interested in that. Listen, there's a lot of jelly in this belly, but I just want to feel great. I want to feel really good. And I don't see anybody addressing it. And it's something I can address. It's something that I know how to do. I know how to teach you how to do it. And I mean, I'm very excited.
I am too. And I can see that really take off because there was so little talk about it a generation ago. And because this generation, starting with ours, Gen X, we want to talk about it. We're experiencing it and we're used to communicating outward. Menopause is still one of those things that's still done, I think, in whispers. I think because maybe the experience is so unique. There are some flow-throughs of hot flashes that many people may experience at different levels, but you're absolutely right. So I think you're definitely onto something. I also like, though, that you wrote that you're a reformed butter lover. But I would, as you said, and I never thought about butter and cream as a luxurious, like it really does it adds luxury, I guess, to the experience of eating. I never thought about that. Now, what's your philosophy, though, about how we should perceive food and its role in our lives? You did give us some ideas about quantifying how much we actually eat. So, I would love to get some broader philosophy you may have about food.
First of all, I think there's always space for a real dessert. I don't want a diet dessert. Thank you very much. I mean, I'll have a gorgeous fresh peach in the middle of summer. I will pumpkin it up in October and November, right? Eating seasonally is so great. But there is a woman, I wish I remembered her name. She has a book called Dessert for Two. And it's so great because I've been making little 6-inch cast iron cakes. 6 inch, I've been taking fruit, slicing it, putting it on the bottom, pouring this little cake batter, 1 egg, half a cup of flour. And I'm making little desserts so that I don't have a whole lemon cake sitting in there because that lemon and a cake and I are going to have a serious discussion.
I love it.
And it's really, I'm not about deprivation at all.
Yeah.
And I will say I'm 56, almost 57, and I'm not eating as much as I used to. I just don't eat as much as I used to. And I want it to be good food. I want to eat like really good stuff.
Yeah.
And not for nothing, I think most of us are capable of making something really great that's going to be better than any takeout.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you got to have the cheeseburger.
Yeah.
It's just life.
Yeah.
It's life. But we
Yeah.
don't have to have the cheeseburger every day,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
That's what becomes a problem. You're absolutely right. So, you've done some amazing things. Really, really like how you're impacting others and teaching them at the same time, but also, of course, giving them that social connection that we all crave. What does an age has no limit life look like or feel like to you?
I I think it's just doing what you want to do. And I don't mean that in a I'm old so I can do whatever I want, leave me alone,
Mhm.
I I am kinder. I
Mhm.
am more kind. I am less gossipy. I am way more empathetic
Mhm.
than I used to be. And for me, getting older means being less afraid
Yeah.
of what people think
Mhm.
as I go and I approach things. I mean, I'm looking at your glasses just going, "Yes, please." Look how great that
Yeah.
looks.
Yeah.
And I have this, I'm going to show you because this is so funny. This is my bag of glasses
Yeah.
because I love glasses,
Yeah.
but I just had to get a new prescription because apparently I'm blind. So it's getting the cool glasses.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's, driving the cute car if I want to
Yeah.
drive the Mini Cooper.
Yeah.
It's embracing all the things that scare me a little bit. And I
Mm.
don't know why
Yeah.
they scare me, but as you're growing up, I was always looking for approval from
Mm.
all sorts of people. Was I doing the right thing? Was I not an idiot? I was trying to not be the idiot.
Yeah.
And now I just feel so much more secure
Yeah.
in who I am and able to embrace that. And when I lost my business, I
Mhm.
really had two choices,
Mhm.
and it was wallow
Mhm.
and just let it go, get the desk job. And I actually tried that.
Mhm.
And I worked for a wonderful organization. And I realized pretty darn quickly that it's not who I am. And I
Yeah.
wasn't ready to stop. I wasn't ready to give up. I
Mhm.
wasn't ready to just embrace a life of, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember going in one day and saying, I'm going to retire when I'm 62.
Mhm.
And now that I'm not working there anymore, and again, stellar organization, great people, the whole thing. But now I don't see retiring
Yeah.
anytime soon. I don't want to retire at 62. I
Mhm.
want to do this. I want to make this awesome and amazing and
Yeah.
have fun and impact other empty nest ladies' lives.
Yeah.
That's what No Limits is. That's
Yeah.
what it is to me.
I just love when I ask that question because the answers are as unique as the people that I ask. So I really, really love that you delved into that. And you really connected it with, the things that you had to do when you had to, but now that and the limitations you sort of had to operate within once you lost your business. But now, why do it? Why even limit yourself by we're retiring at 62? Just keep going, right?
That's
Um,
it.
yeah, absolutely. And my final question for you do you have a bucket list? And is there something on that and if not, is there something that you just really, really want to do? And I won't say before you die. That sounds really morose, but is there something is there something you really want to accomplish at some time in the future?
Good question. I mean, the ego in me is like, yes, I want to be on the Today Show.
Yes.
The
Yes.
because I love the Today Show.
Mhm.
Um, but I've never been to Paris. I've never been to France.
Yeah.
And it's so cliche, but it's cliche for a reason.
Yeah.
I really, really want to go to Paris and go to France, and
Mhm.
not during Olympics. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Yeah.
You know, and those, I think that's, I really just want to explore. I love to learn. I
Yeah.
want to learn new things all the time. I want to taste and eat and, you know, sleep and ride a bike. And I just want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So it has been so much fun getting to know you, talking to you about Empty Nest Kitchen. And again, guys, if you want to learn more about Empty Nest Kitchen, it is emptynestkitchen.com. And I'm actually envisioning, I actually saw you, as you mentioned it, in Paris, leading one of your online cooking classes or in person. I see that happening. If that's what you want to do,
That would be so good. So
yeah,
good.
I see
I
it.
got goosebumps again, Patrice.
Yes.
I'm an easy goosebumper.
Yes, I want. If that's what you want, I see it happening. I do think it's possible. Maybe even doing something for the equivalent organization as the AARP in France. They probably have an equivalent organization for seniors. Send them a video. I'm very serious. Host a show there. And you never know. I'm one of those people that believes in trying because you never know what's going to open up the door as long as you're not trying to kick it in and you're being gracious. And if it's in, you know, if that's what's supposed to happen for you, it's going to happen. But I think we should first at least have, you know, have the vision, which you already do. I'm saying go host a show in France. So
I love it, Patrice. I love it.
Yeah, send them a video. But thanks so much for spending some time with me and helping to once again demonstrate that age has no limit. Thank you so much, Christine. It was fun.